My family excluded me from the vacation to pay for my cousin's wedding. They said, "You can't compete with family love." So I revealed who really owns the venue, leaving them speechless. I stood frozen in the hallway, my mother's words piercing through the thin walls of our family home. "It's just Natasha. She'll understand if we cancel the vacation. She always does." My name is Natasha, and I've spent 29 years being just Natasha to my family. The invisible daughter, the reliable one, the one who would understand. "But what about the deposit we already paid for the beach house?" My father's voice carried through. "We've been doing this family vacation for 15 years. Douglas says Simone's wedding venue alone is costing a fortune." My mother replied, "And you know how special this is for her. She's been dreaming of her perfect day since she was little." I pressed my back against the wall, my hands clenching into fists. Of course, Simone, my cousin, the family's golden child, was getting married in 3 months, and apparently, that meant everything else had to revolve around her wishes. "Hey, sweetie." My mother's voice startled me as she emerged from the living room. "I didn't hear you come in. You never do," I muttered under my breath. "What was that?" "Nothing." I forced a smile. "Just stop by to drop off those family photos you wanted for Simone's wedding slideshow." My mother's face lit up. "Oh, perfect. Simone will be so pleased. She's been stressed about getting everything together. The venue is gorgeous, but it's really stretching everyone thin. So thin that we're canceling the annual vacation?" The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Her expression fell. "Oh, you heard that? Kinda hard not to. Honey, you know how important this is for Simone, and you're so good with money. Always saving, unlike some people." She gave me that look, the one that suggested I should be grateful for my sensible nature even though it was the very thing that made them take me for granted. My phone buzzed. A text from Rosalie. "Still on for drinks?" "I have to go," I said, already heading for the door. "Meeting Rosalie." "Wait, Natasha," my father called out, appearing in the hallway. "We should talk about this." "Nothing to talk about. I understand. I always do, right?" The drive to the Copper Pot, my usual meeting spot with Rosalie, was a blur of angry tears and white-knuckled steering wheel gripping. When I arrived, she took one look at my face and ordered 2 martinis. "Spill," she commanded, sliding one glass toward me. "They're canceling the family vacation to help pay for Simone's wedding," I said, taking a long sip. 15 years of tradition, gone, because Princess Simone needs the perfect venue. Rosalie's eyes widened. "The Bellamy estate? That's where she's having it, right?" I nodded, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "The irony is killing me, Roz. Are you going to tell them?" "Tell them what? That their invisible daughter actually owns the venue they're breaking the bank to rent?" I shook my head. "They don't even know about my business partnership with Caleb. They think I'm still just pushing papers at that accounting firm." My phone buzzed again. "Caleb this time, contract's ready for Simone's wedding. Need your signature. Weird signing a venue contract for your own cousin. You know?" Rosalie said slowly, stirring her martini. "You could just tell them no, it's your venue, and prove them right about being the family disappointment." "No thanks." I took another sip, an idea forming in my mind. "But maybe there's another way?" "Natasha." Rosalie's voice carried a warning note. "What are you thinking?" "Nothing yet." I pulled out my phone and texted Caleb back. "Let's meet tomorrow. I have some special requirements for this event." Just then, my phone lit up with a group text from Simone to the entire family. "Everyone, just booked the perfect venue, the Bellamy estate. Mom and Uncle Bennett, thank you so much for making this happen. Can't wait to marry Jude in the most beautiful place ever." The responses flooded in immediately. Heart emojis, congratulations, excited messages about how she deserved it. I showed the thread to Rosalie, who let out a low whistle. "Oh, this is going to be interesting." "You know what the funny thing is?" I said, finishing my martini. "They're also busy fawning over Simone. They never even asked what I've been doing with my life these past few years. Never wondered how I could afford my new house, or why I changed jobs. And now," I smiled, feeling a calm settle over me for the first time that day. "Now they're about to find out, all of them, at the perfect moment, in the perfect venue. To the perfect revenge." Rosalie raised her glass. I clinked mine against hers, to finally being seen. The Bellamy estate's wrought iron gates swung open as I pulled up in my car. Even after 2 years of co-owning this place, the grandeur still took my breath away. The morning sun caught the Victorian mansion's windows, making them gleam like diamonds. "There's my favorite silent partner," Caleb called out from the front steps. His suit was impeccable as always, but his grin was pure mischief. "Ready to plan your cousin's perfect day?" "Just show me the contract," I said, following him inside. The main foyer echoed with our footsteps as we walked to his office. Through the windows I could see the gardeners preparing the rose garden, Simone's chosen ceremony spot. "So," Caleb said, settling behind his desk. "Want to tell me why you're charging your own family full price plus the premium package fee?" I picked up the contract, scanning the numbers. "Because they don't know they're my family. Nat, don't nat me, you weren't there yesterday. I dropped into the chair across from him. You didn't hear them cancel our family vacation like it was nothing. Fair enough. He leaned forward. But what's your end game here? Before I could answer, voices drifted in from the hallway. I recognized them immediately, Simone and her fiancé Jude, arriving for their first official tour. Quick, Caleb whispered, in the connecting office. I slipped through the side door just as they entered Caleb's office. Through the thin wall, I could hear everything. Mr. Dawson, Simone's voice dripped with honey. Thank you so much for fitting us in today. Please call me Caleb. Shall we begin the tour? I pressed my ear against the wall, listening to their footsteps fade, then pulled out my phone to text Rosalie. At the venue, S is here for her tour. Hide and seek like I'm 12 again. Her response was instant. Except this time, you own the hiding spot. I waited a few minutes before sneaking out to follow the tour group. From behind a massive floral arrangement, I watched Simone flutter around the grand ballroom, Jude trailing behind her like a lost puppy. And these chandeliers, she gushed. Daddy, aren't they just perfect? I hadn't even noticed my Uncle Douglas was there until he spoke. Whatever makes you happy, princess, though the price tag is quite steep but worth every penny, Caleb smoothly interjected, catching my eye across the room before quickly looking away. The Bellamy estate is quite exclusive. Speaking of exclusive, Simone said, I heard the mysterious owner never shows up to events. Is that true? I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. The mysterious owner story was something Caleb and I had cultivated deliberately. It added to the venue's allure, and more importantly, it kept my involvement hidden. The owner prefers to remain private, Caleb replied diplomatically, but they're very involved in operations. How fascinating, Simone mused. Maybe they'll make an exception for my wedding. It is going to be the event of the season after all. Oh, I can guarantee the owner will be there, Caleb said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother. Simone's touring the venue today. Isn't it exciting? Maybe you could help with some of the planning? You're so good with details. I typed back, sure Mom, I'd love to help plan things at the Bellamy estate. The tour continued to the garden, and I followed at a safe distance. Watching Simone twirl among the roses I'd personally selected 2 years ago, I felt a strange mix of anger and satisfaction. The garden will be perfect for the ceremony, she declared. Though these white roses, could they be pink instead? The garden design is fixed, Caleb said firmly. The owner is quite particular about maintaining the estate's aesthetic. Simone's face fell slightly. Oh well, I suppose white is classic. After they left, I emerged from my hiding spot and found Caleb waiting in his office. You enjoy that way too much, I accused. He shrugged. Can you blame me? It's not every day I get to play double agent. His expression turned serious. But Natasha, are you sure about this? Once you reveal yourself at the wedding, I've spent my whole life being invisible to them, I said, picking up the contract. Always in Simone's shadow, always just Natasha. Well, now I own her perfect day, and when the time comes, they'll finally see me. Your signature then? He held out a pen. I signed with a flourish, feeling the weight of years of silence in that single action. Let the show begin, I murmured, handing him back the contract. Indeed. He filed it away carefully. Though I have to ask, what are you going to wear to the wedding? I smiled. Something unforgettable. You're going to give your mother a heart attack, Rosalie said, watching me flip through the racks at Nordstrom. A red dress to a wedding? Not just any red dress. I pulled out a sleek floor-length number with a dramatic back, the perfect red dress. The same shade as the Bellamy estate's signature carpets, I notice. Pure coincidence, I said innocently, heading to the fitting room. My phone rang. Mom again. Third time today. I let it go to voicemail. You can't avoid them forever, Rosalie called through the fitting room door. The wedding's in 8 weeks, watch me. I stepped out in the dress, and Rosalie's jaw dropped. Okay, that's wow. You look like you own the place, which you actually do. Miss Rivera? A sales associate approached with a concerned look. Your mother's on the store phone. She says it's urgent. I sighed, taking the phone. Hi, Mom. Natasha, why aren't you answering your cell? We have an emergency. Simone's crying. What happened? The wedding planner quit. Something about creative differences. Please, we need your help. You're so organized, and you know how important this is to Simone. I caught Rosalie's eye in the mirror, and she shook her head in warning. Where are you now? I asked. At the venue. Mr. Dawson is being very accommodating, but I'll be there in 30 minutes. I hung up and quickly changed back into my clothes, purchasing the red dress before Rosalie could talk me out of it. This is a bad idea, she said as we left the store. You're getting too close to the fire. Sometimes you have to get burned to rise from the ashes. That's both dramatic and concerning. The Bellamy estate was chaos when I arrived. Simone sat in the grand hall, mascara running down her face, while my mother hovered anxiously. Caleb stood to the side, maintaining his professional facade, despite the obvious amusement in his eyes. Thank God you're here. Mom rushed over. We need someone who can take charge. What exactly happened? I asked, watching Simone dab at her eyes with an embroidered handkerchief. She wanted to change everything. Simone wailed. The flowers, the timing, the table arrangements. She said my vision was tacky. Caleb coughed suddenly, covering what sounded suspiciously like a laugh. I can help, I said carefully. But you'll need to work with the venue's requirements. Of course, Mom said quickly. Mr. Dawson has been very clear about the owner's specifications. The owner, Simone sniffed. Who is this person anyway, so controlling about their precious venue? I felt Caleb's eyes on me as I replied. Someone who knows exactly what they want, I guess. Just then, my father and Uncle Douglas walked in, deep in conversation. Had to take out a second mortgage, Douglas was saying. But it's worth it for my little girl's special day. They stopped short when they saw me. Natasha? Dad looked surprised. What are you doing here? Helping, Mom jumped in. She's going to coordinate the wedding now that horrible planner is gone. You? Simone's tone made the single word feel like a slap. But you've never even been to a proper wedding. I've been to plenty, I said evenly, including 3 here at the Bellamy estate. How would you know that? Mom asked. I follow their social media, I lied smoothly, very closely. Well, Douglas said, clearly skeptical, as long as you understand this needs to be perfect. Money's no object. Except for family vacations, I muttered. What was that? Nothing. Just making notes. I pulled out my phone, pretending to type. Why don't we start with the basics? For the next hour, I listened to Simone's increasingly elaborate demands, knowing full well which ones would be quietly denied by the mysterious owner. Caleb occasionally caught my eye, his subtle head shakes or nods guiding my responses. And for the entrance, Simone was saying, I want doves released as I come down the grand staircase. No live animals, Caleb and I said simultaneously. Everyone stared at us. I quickly added, I've read that's one of the venue's policies. Correct, Caleb confirmed smoothly. Owner's orders. This is impossible. Simone stood up dramatically. Everything I want is either against policy or not allowed. Who is this owner? I demand to speak to them. Careful what you wish for, I whispered, too quietly for anyone to hear. The owner's decisions are final, Caleb stated firmly. But I assure you, Miss Rivera, your wedding will be unforgettable. Looking at my family, my oblivious self-absorbed family, I couldn't help but smile. Yes, I agreed. It certainly will be. The florist needs your signature on this, Caleb said, sliding a paper across his desk. And before you ask, yes, Simone already tried to change the arrangements 3 times this morning. I signed the form without looking. 6 weeks until the wedding, and I'd somehow become both the invisible coordinator and the secret venue owner blocking all of Simone's improvements. She called again about painting the gazebo pink. He added, let me guess, for aesthetic harmony? Actually, she said it would pop better in photos. The door burst open, and Simone swept in, followed by her ever-present entourage. My mother, her mother, and bridesmaids I'd never met. Oh, she stopped short. Natasha, what are you doing in Mr. Dawson's office? Going over the flower arrangements, I said, sliding the paper into a folder. Everything's on schedule. Speaking of schedule, Simone's eyes narrowed. Why wasn't I informed about the meeting with the florist? Because there wasn't one. Caleb intervened smoothly. Just routine paperwork. Now what can I help you ladies with? The owner, Simone declared. We brought champagne. I thought perhaps we could persuade them to join us for a toast. I caught Caleb fighting back a smile. I'm afraid they're not available. Are they ever available? Simone's mother asked. It's rather rude, isn't it, considering how much we're paying? My mother nodded in agreement. And after we canceled our vacation to afford this place. Mom, I warned, but she continued. The least they could do is meet with us once, unless she looked around conspiratorially. Are they some kind of celebrity? Is that why they're so secretive? The owner values their privacy, Caleb said diplomatically. But I assure you, they're very involved in ensuring every event here is perfect. Well, I think it's suspicious, Simone announced. Daddy says only people with something to hide act this mysterious. I stood up abruptly. I need some air. Oh, while you're up, Simone called after me. Could you check on the table linens? The sample they sent over was completely wrong. I walked out without responding, heading for my favorite spot, the hidden alcove in the library. To my surprise, Jude was there, staring out the window. Sorry, I said, turning to leave. No. Wait. He looked exhausted. Can we talk? Actually talk? I hesitated, then sat in the window seat across from him. What's on your mind? Is this normal? Olive, he gestured vaguely. This? The wedding drama? The money, the demands, the way everyone walks on eggshells around Simone. He ran a hand through his hair. Yesterday she cried for 3 hours because the shade of pink on the menus was wrong. And you're just noticing this now? I guess I never saw this side of her before, or maybe I didn't want to. He looked at me directly. How do you deal with it, being treated like the family assistant? Before I could answer, voices approached. We both tensed. Just don't understand why Natasha's suddenly so involved, Simone was saying. She's never cared about weddings before. She's trying to help, dear, my mother replied. And she's doing a good job. Please. She's probably just jealous. You know, she's never even had a serious boyfriend, and now she's managing my perfect wedding. It must be killing her. Their voices faded down the hallway. Jude looked mortified. He stood awkwardly. Go. I finished for him. Your fiancé's waiting. After he left, I pulled out my phone and texted Rosalie, need drinks now. An hour later, I was at our usual spot, recounting everything to Rosalie. So even the groom is having doubts, she mused. This just keeps getting better. I almost told him right there, I admitted, about owning the venue. Why didn't you? Because I stirred my drink. Because when I do tell them, I want everyone to know at once. I want to see all their faces when they realize that just Natasha owns the place they mortgaged their house to afford. Speaking of which, Rosalie leaned forward. Have you figured out exactly how you're going to do it? Actually, yes. I pulled out my phone and showed her the wedding schedule. See this spot here, where Simone insisted on having the owner thanked publicly? Oh no. Oh yes, I'll be introduced as the venue owner right after their first dance in my perfect red dress. You're evil. Rosalie grinned. I love it. My phone buzzed with a text from Caleb. Simone's demanding to speak to the owner again. Says she'll go to the media about our suspicious behavior if we don't comply. I showed Rosalie the message. Looks like my cousin's about to learn a valuable lesson about being careful what you wish for. To the mysterious owner, Rosalie raised her glass. To perfect timing. I clinked mine against hers, feeling the pieces of my plan falling perfectly into place. You're doing what? Caleb nearly spat out his coffee. At the wedding reception? It's poetic justice, I said, straightening a centerpiece on one of the sample tables. She wanted to meet the owner so badly. Natasha, this is a nuclear option. Have you really thought this through? Before I could answer, my father's voice echoed through the ballroom. There you are. I spun around to find him walking toward us, looking unusually serious. Dad, what are you doing here? Mr. Dawson, he nodded to Caleb. Mind if I borrow my daughter for a moment? Caleb excused himself, shooting me a meaningful look as he left. Something wrong? I asked, continuing to adjust flowers. That's what I wanted to ask you. Dad pulled out a chair and sat down. Your mother's worried. Says you've been distant, sarcastic, more than usual. I'm fine. Are you? Because I remember a time when you used to tell me things. He picked up one of the place cards, like why you're really helping with this wedding. I froze. What do you mean? Come on, Natasha. You've hated event planning since that disastrous Sweet 16 party Simone made you organize. That was different. I was 17, and she blamed me when the DJ played the wrong song for her grand entrance. Exactly. So why put yourself through this again? I met his eyes. Maybe I've grown up. Maybe I'm better at handling things now. Or maybe you're planning something. The accusation hung in the air between us. For a moment, I considered telling him everything, about the venue, about the years of feeling invisible, about the revenge I'd carefully orchestrated. Instead, I said, I'm just trying to help the family. The family, he repeated slowly. The same family that canceled our vacation? Don't think I didn't notice how that hurt you. Did you? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice because you seemed pretty okay with it at the time. I wasn't. But sometimes we make sacrifices for family. Some of us more than others, apparently. He stood up, straightening his jacket. Whatever you're planning, Natasha, and don't tell me you're not planning something, just remember that some bells can't be unrung. Is that supposed to be advice or a warning? Both, maybe. He headed for the door, then paused. You know, you remind me more of your mother every day, Mom? The eternal peacekeeper? No. He smiled sadly. The woman who once set her sister's car on fire because she stole her prom date. Ask her about it sometime. He left me standing there, mind reeling. Caleb reappeared almost immediately. Everything okay? I think my dad just tried to warn me about myself, I said, still processing, while simultaneously telling me I'm like my mother, who apparently has a secret arsonist past. My phone buzzed, a text from Simone. Emergency meeting at the venue now. Bring the color swatches. Duty calls? Caleb asked, reading over my shoulder. When doesn't it? I found Simone in the bridal suite, surrounded by fabric samples and looking like she'd been crying. Finally, she exclaimed. Look at this. The bridesmaids' dresses don't match the exact shade of the table runners. I picked up both items. They were identical. Simone, these are the same color. No, they're not. This is Blush Dream and this is Dawn's First Light. They're completely different. They're both pink. This is why you're single, she snapped. No attention to detail, no romance in your soul. I counted to 10 silently. What do you want me to do about it? Fix it. Talk to the owner. Make them change the runners. The runners were custom made months ago. They're not changing them 4 weeks before the wedding. God, whose side are you on? She threw a fabric swatch across the room. Ever since we were kids, you've been trying to ruin my special moments. Excuse me? Like my sweet 16, you hired that terrible DJ on purpose. I was 17 and working with the budget you gave me. See? Always excuses with you, never taking responsibility. She stood up, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Well, you're not ruining my wedding. I want to speak to the owner today. Careful what you wish for, I muttered. What? Nothing. I'll talk to Caleb. As I left the bridal suite, I pulled out my phone and texted Rosalie. Dad knows something's up. Simone's having a meltdown. Mom apparently has a secret bad girl past. Still want to be my witness when I blow this whole thing up? Her response was immediate. Wouldn't miss it for the world. I smiled, tucking my phone away. 4 weeks to go and the fuse was already lit. The red dress is too much, my mother said, barging into my house unannounced. You need to return it. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been reviewing the wedding timeline. 2 weeks to go. Hello to you too, Mom. Please come in. She waved a hand dismissively. Simone saw it in your car when you were at the venue yesterday. She's upset. Why? Because I'm not wearing beige like all the other cousins? Because it's attention-seeking. She sat down heavily on my couch. And you know how important this day is to her? Right. Important enough to cancel our family vacation. Are you still on about that? She sighed. You know, I came here to tell you something else, but now I'm not sure I should. What is it? Your father thinks you're up to something. She leaned forward. He says you're acting like I used to. You mean before you set Aunt Linda's car on fire? Her face went pale. He told you about that? Just the headline, not the story. I closed my laptop. Care to fill in the details? That was different, she said quickly. Linda had been. She always took everything from me. My clothes, my friends, my dates. The prom was just the last straw. Sounds familiar. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I stood up. I need to get to the venue. Final walkthrough today. Natasha? Her voice stopped me. Whatever you're planning, just remember that family is all we have. Is it? Because lately it feels like Simone is all this family has. I left her sitting there and drove to the Bellamy estate where I found Caleb pacing in his office. We have a problem, he said as soon as I walked in. When don't we? Simone's father is threatening to sue. That stopped me. What? He's demanding to meet the owner, claiming we've breached contract by being unavailable for consultation. He handed me a letter. Says he'll take legal action if the owner doesn't attend the rehearsal dinner. Well, I smiled grimly. Looks like they'll get their wish a few days early. Natasha, no. We can handle this legally. I'm done hiding, Caleb. I picked up the wedding timeline from his desk. Move my reveal to the rehearsal dinner, right after the toasts. Are you sure about this? Before I could answer, voices approached. We both recognized them, Simone and Jude arguing. I can't believe you're taking their side. Simone's voice carried through the door. I'm not taking sides, I'm just saying, maybe we should focus on getting married instead of fighting with the venue that's ruining everything. God, you're as bad as Natasha. I opened Caleb's office door, making them both jump. Speaking of me, I said coolly, the final walkthrough is scheduled for now. Shall we? The next hour was excruciating. Simone critiqued everything, while Jude looked increasingly uncomfortable. When we reached the grand staircase, she turned to me. The runner needs to be wider. Tell the owner. The runner is standard width, I replied. Tell the owner. Fine. I pulled out my phone and pretended to type. Done. Just like that? She looked suspicious. You have direct access to them? I have my ways. You know who it is, don't you? She grabbed my arm. Tell me. Simone, Jude warned. No, I want to know. Everyone's been blocking me at every turn, and somehow my nobody cousin has all the answers. Careful? I said quietly, removing her hand from my arm. Or what? You'll tell the mysterious owner on me? She laughed bitterly. You know what? I bet there is no owner. I bet this is all some elaborate scam. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom, coming to the walkthrough, need to talk to you. Perfect, more witnesses. The owner is very real, I said, my voice steady. And you'll meet them at the rehearsal dinner. Simone's eyes widened. What? How did you arrange that? Let's just say I can be very persuasive. I knew it. She clapped her hands. Finally, I have so many changes to discuss with them. I'm sure you do. I checked my watch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to prepare some paperwork for the owner. As I walked away, I heard Jude ask quietly, Are you sure you want to meet them? Something feels off about this. Don't be ridiculous, Simone replied. What's the worst that could happen? I smiled to myself, heading back to Caleb's office. The stage was set, the players were in position, and in 48 hours, they'd all learn exactly what happens when you push the quiet one too far. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with anticipation. I stood in Caleb's office, adjusting my red dress one last time. Ready? Rosalie asked, handing me a glass of water. I've been ready for years. A knock at the door. Caleb entered, looking sharp in his suit. Everyone seated. Your family's wondering where you are. Let them wonder. I checked my lipstick. For about 5 more minutes. Natasha, he hesitated. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. I handed him the folder containing proof of ownership. Do your introduction exactly as we planned. The dining room fell silent as Caleb approached the microphone. I watched from the doorway as he tapped his glass. Good evening, everyone. As promised, the owner of the Bellamy estate will be joining us tonight. Simone practically bounced in her seat. My parents exchanged curious glances. But first, Caleb continued, I think it's important to share some history. The Bellamy estate was purchased 2 years ago by a young entrepreneur, someone who saw its potential when others didn't, someone who turned it into one of the most exclusive venues in the state. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. Someone, Caleb smiled, who's been here all along. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the owner of the Bellamy estate, Mr. Shahara. Science was deafening front through my heels or the folder K. The pandemic felt heavy with 2 years of secrets. No. Simone broke the silence. This is a joke. It's not. I opened the folder, sliding the ownership papers toward her. I bought this place 2 years ago with my business partner, Caleb, but my mother's voice shook. How? Remember that boring accounting job you never asked about? I was actually managing investments, made some good ones, met Caleb, started this business. All this time, my father said slowly. The wedding planning, the venue requirements were coming from me. I turned to Simone. Surprise. The mysterious owner you've been demanding to meet? The one whose rules kept blocking your perfect vision? That was just Natasha, the nobody cousin. Uncle Douglas stood up, face red. This is ridiculous. We paid a fortune for this venue. Yes, you did. Market rate, just like everyone else. I smiled. Even took out a second mortgage, I heard. Funny how money was no object for Simone's wedding. But a family vacation was too expensive. You did this on purpose, Simone whispered. You let us book your venue just to humiliate me. No, Simone. You did that yourself. I just owned the stage you performed on. I'll sue. Douglas shouted. This is fraud. Caleb stepped forward. Actually, sir, everything was completely legal. The contract never guaranteed access to the owner, and Miss Rivera was under no obligation to disclose her ownership. Jude stood up suddenly. I need some air. Jude, wait, Simone called after him. But he was already gone. My mother started crying. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have listened? I asked quietly. When have you ever really listened to me? This is just like the car incident, my father muttered. What car incident? Uncle Douglas demanded. Nothing, Mom snapped. Oh, you mean when Mom torched Aunt Linda's car for stealing her prom date? I said sweetly. Guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Lucille. Douglas looked scandalized. You said that was an accident. The room erupted into chaos. Simone was crying. Mom and Uncle Douglas were arguing about ancient history, and my father just sat there shaking his head. Well, Rosalie appeared at my elbow. This is going even better than expected. Caleb joined us. Should we intervene? No, I said, watching my family implode. Let them process. I've said my piece, Natasha. My father's voice cut through the noise. Everyone fell silent as he approached me. You orchestrated all of this. The wedding planning, the mysterious owner act, tonight's revelation. Why? I met his eyes. Because for once I wanted you all to see me, really see me. Not as just Natasha, who always understands, always steps aside, always makes room for Simone, but as someone who built something. Someone who succeeded, someone who matters. By ruining my wedding, Simone sobbed. Your wedding hasn't been ruined. The venue is still yours. The contracts are valid. The only thing that's changed is now you know who really owns your perfect day. I turned to leave, but my father caught my arm. We always saw you, he said softly. We just didn't understand you, until now. I gently pulled away. Then maybe this revelation was overdue. As I walked out, Rosalie and Caleb flanking me, I heard Simone ask in a small voice. What about tomorrow? What about my wedding? I paused at the door. Don't worry, cousin. The show must go on. And tomorrow would be quite a show indeed. The morning of the wedding, I sat in my office at the Bellamy estate watching the chaos unfold on the security monitors. Simone hadn't spoken to anyone since last night's revelation. Jude had disappeared for hours before finally returning at dawn. The family was fractured into whispering groups, shooting glances at each other across the venue. A knock at my door. Come in. My mother entered, looking tired but determined. You're not wearing the beige dress. No, I said, smoothing my red gown. I'm not. She sat down across from me. I've been thinking about what you said last night, about us not listening. She pulled something from her purse, an old photograph. Remember this? I took it. A teenage me at Simone's Sweet 16, standing off to the side while everyone crowded around the birthday girl. I took this picture, Mom said quietly. And I never realized until now what it really showed. How we pushed you to the edges of your own family. Mom, let me finish. She straightened her spine. What I did to Linda's car, it wasn't just about a prom date, it was about years of being overlooked, of being second choice. Sound familiar? Before I could respond, another knock. Dad walked in. The ceremony's starting soon, he said. Simone's asking for you, Natasha. Me? Says she won't walk down the aisle until she talks to you. I found Simone in the bridal suite, still in her robe, staring out the window. You're wearing red? She said without turning around. Yes. You know what's funny? She finally faced me. I always thought you were boring, predictable. Turns out you're the most dramatic one of all. Life's full of surprises. Jude almost left last night. Her voice cracked. Said he finally saw what kind of family he was marrying into, one that would cancel traditions and take out mortgages just to please their spoiled daughter. Is he wrong? No. She wiped a tear. That's what makes it worse. I've been horrible, haven't I? You've been Simone, the family princess, and you've been Natasha, the secret queen. She actually laughed. God, I can't believe you own this place. That all those times I complained about the mysterious owner. Were you actually complaining to the owner? Yeah. I deserve this, don't I? This humiliation? I walked to the window, standing beside her. This wasn't about humiliating you, Simone. It was about finally being seen, really seen. Well, I see you now. She turned to me. And I'm sorry for everything. Not just the wedding drama, but for years of treating you like my personal assistant instead of my cousin. A knock at the door. Jude poked his head in. Everyone's waiting. Are we doing this? Simone looked at me. Are we? It's your wedding day, I said. The venue is yours. Owner's orders. The ceremony went ahead as planned. I sat between my parents, watching Simone and Jude exchange vows under the gazebo, which remained stubbornly white, not pink. When they kissed, I felt my mother's hand slip into mine. At the reception, Uncle Douglas approached me, looking uncomfortable. The second mortgage, he said gruffly, it was wrong. Canceling the vacation was wrong. Yes, it was. Maybe he cleared his throat. Maybe we could reschedule it. The whole family, including the owner of this fine establishment. I'll check my calendar. Later, as the party wound down, I found myself on the grand staircase with Caleb and Rosalie. So Rosalie said, was it worth it, the big reveal? I watched my family below. Mom and Aunt Linda, laughing about the car incident after all these years. Dad and Uncle Douglas, already planning the rescheduled vacation. Simone and Jude dancing slowly, differently somehow, like they'd both grown up overnight. You know what? I said. It was, but not for the revenge. For what then? Caleb asked. For the truth. Sometimes you have to break things to fix them properly. Speaking of fixing things, my father called up from below. The owner of this beautiful venue owes her family a dance. I looked at my friends. Duty calls? Go. Rosalie smiled. Your family's waiting. As I descended the stairs in my red dress, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I wasn't invisible anymore. I wasn't just Natasha. I was the woman who built this, who owned this, who finally found her voice. And as I joined my family on the dance floor, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply standing in your truth and letting everyone else adjust their vision to see you clearly at last. Ready to dance, owner? My father asked, extending his hand. I took it, smiling. I've been ready for years.